In this video, I'm going to talk about why it's so important for you to pre-plan a renovation. And you would be surprised how many people overlook this step before reaching out to a contractor or a architect. I'm going to go over all of the reasons why you need to pre-plan. So if you want to save thousands of dollars on your renovation, do not skip this video. So first up, you need to start pre-planning because you need to know why you're doing what you're doing. You can't be going in blind on this one because you will end up spending thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars wasted on a renovation that you didn't actually need. And when I say need, you may still need parts of that reno, but you may have gone way over budget. What is best is to just take a breath, really figure out why you want to renovate. What are your biggest pain points? I think that is the question that people don't fully flesh out before they reach out to us anyway. People come to them and say, hey, I want to build this new addition. I want to build like a one-story addition, extend the kitchen. Let's do it. And when I speak with my clients, I dig a little deeper. And it turns out, they actually really want a new kitchen because the rest of their house doesn't have enough storage. So it actually ends up being more of a storage problem than just the kitchen itself. So they're spending all this money to have an addition and build a new beautiful kitchen, but that won't fully solve all of their problems because what they actually need is more storage for their bedrooms, more storage for their living space items like movies and CDs and all of that stuff. So making the kitchen bigger really isn't going to solve all those problems. So what would end up needing to be in that case is a reconfiguration of their bedroom floor or of their living space as well to make the space more functional and to incorporate more closet space or built-in storage. So that's just one of the main reasons why it's so important for you to pre-plan. The next important reason is you want to make sure that you understand what is entailed in your renovation. And that is referring to permits and zoning approval and planning approval. There is so many steps to a project that can be overlooked, especially if you are a first-time renovator. You have no idea what the whole process looks like. So there are a couple of things that you need to consider when you're talking about permits and zoning approval. You have to account for the permit fees. You also have to account for the time it's going to take for you to go through the permitting process and planning approval. And you need to be aware of what is actually possible. You may want to have a staircase that doesn't have a railing at all, or is a floating staircase. There are still requirements that the building code will need you to meet before that can even happen, and it may not be able to happen at all depending on what the intent is. So you need to know these things before you get all invested in this project and you throw money at it and then it turns out an inspector comes and says, nope, that's not to code, and you have to rip that out completely. That would be the worst case, but it has happened and probably more often than you'd think. So that's why super important for you to pre-plan this section. Planning approval is another part that you need to consider. It's going to add potentially 4 to 6 months to your overall permitting process, which is a huge chunk of time, and you may not get approval. And if you had already started construction without the approval, you are going to be forced to rip that down or pay a fine. Usually it ends up being torn down if you get a rejection. So that is worst case scenario. The next reason you want to pre-plan is you want to know how much you can afford. Go to the bank, figure out what you can take out for a second mortgage or a HELOC, or figure out if you need to go to private money, whether it's a family member or a friend that you need to ask, or if there's rebates that you can look into that the government provides for improving your home. There are a numerous amount of things that you can look into when it comes to looking for financial help. But knowing that before you get started is so important. I probably would say most of my clients haven't done that step when they reach out to me, and they'll say, oh, like, we don't really have a budget, we're not really sure, like, I don't know. They don't even throw out a number, and I'm trying to get them to throw out a number, and they're like, yeah, I don't really know. And I tell them, I'm like, okay, and then I'll start saying numbers and say they want to build a second story on top of their home. I'm like, well, right now that's looking around $600,000, and they're like, oh, that's way out of our budget. And then all of a sudden they have a budget. So super important for you to talk to your financial advisors, whoever you need to figure out what you can actually afford, and then use that as a base to figure out what we can do to make your home better, solve your problems within your budget. If you're planning a renovation, you've got to start with the right numbers. We've created a free renovation budget guide that can be downloaded at the link below. This guide will walk you through what you need to include in your budget, and we've also included a built-in calculator. It's so simple to use. Just type in your total budget and it will divide it appropriately between the 6 main categories that every single renovation budget needs to include. If you haven't yet, click the link below to get your free copy. Please click the subscribe button below so you can be notified of when we upload our next video. Good luck on your renovation and bye for now.